All right, Madam President, you should be good to go.
Okay, thank you. We are going to go ahead and get started with our Waukegan Library Board of Trustees meeting. This is Wednesday, June the 16th, 2021, and it is now 6:31 p.m. It is a virtual meeting, and I am Sylvia England, the president, and we'll call this meeting to order. Roll call. Larry.
Here.
Tatiana.
Here.
Josue.
Present.
Robbie.
Present.
And Brian did let us know that he would not be here tonight. So we do have a quorum and we will get started with our meeting. So there are no public comments tonight. And now we're at the agenda and the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda for the Waukegan Library Board of Trustees, Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, with an amendment and ask for reconsideration of the appraisal of the Ray Bradbury collection.
Can we get a second on the agenda?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second that we accept the agenda as printed with the addition of reopening the appraisal for the Ray Bradbury collection. All in favor? Larry?
No.
Tatiana?
Yes.
Rob?
Aye.
Josue?
I'll abstain.
And I say yes. Motion is carried with the majority. And with Josue abstaining, that would make it 3-1. So agenda is as printed, and we're going to have a discussion about the appraisal that we approved at the last meeting. Okay, the minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes of the Waukegan Public Library Board of Trustees meeting May 19th, 2021.
I'll second that motion.
And second, so it's been moved and properly second, or motioned and properly second that we accept the minutes. All in favor? Larry?
Aye.
Tatiana?
Aye.
Josue?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I for me also. So motion carried.
Madam President, before you carry on, we just admitted Martha, so you might want to seat Martha Ramos.
So I make a motion to seat Martha into the meeting for the Board of Trustees.
I'll second.
All in favor? Tatiana?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Josue?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. We will seat Martha into our meeting.
Thank you.
Hello, Martha. Okay, so we're moving to the Finance Committee report. Larry?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Chairwoman. So yes, we, the Finance Committee, we met earlier this evening and reviewed the, in our board packet, first of all, we reviewed the summary of actual versus budgeted results for the 1 month ending on May 31st of 2021. In reviewing that, I found nothing unusual. It seemed like a bit of a slow month. And then Anna, our business manager, provided a broader summary. Anna, if you're still here, perhaps you could summarize this report for the entire board as you did for our earlier meeting tonight.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
in the month of May, the first month of our fiscal year, we received property tax in 139,000, and it is somewhat a slow month. A lot of our expenditures we're still paying. We pay in arrear, so we're still paying April's. So that's why it looks like the expense in this actual versus budget summary is a little low, but it's not. I mean, we do this just the month of May because we're paying the prior fiscal year, and the other months we don't have to worry about it. So it's just in the month of May. But the check disbursement is live. That's on a cash basis. So nothing out of the ordinary, just we receive property tax, and I would expect that we'll be receiving more property tax in the upcoming months, just because that's the time in the county, that's when we have to pay our property tax. That's about it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Any
Anna.
questions?
Thank you. Yes, are there any questions? Comments?
Martha, we can't hear you.
I'm thinking that there may be a reduction in the monies coming in for taxes based on the financial of a lot of our Waukegan homeowners. So I would like to ask is, could we go back, or how long after people pay their taxes do we know, can we get an update as to what has transpired as far as payments or how much money came in for us? Because we may have to do maybe a change or maybe an adjustment in our expenses based on how maybe a reduction in monies coming into us.
No, our tax revenue is based on our levy, which we submitted to the city after we passed the budget. So that is pretty set. And the county levy everybody's property tax based on the levy by all the taxing bodies. And we don't expect to collect 100%. No, I don't think anybody does that. But 98% is pretty good. So we get a portion of what the city of Waukegan collects. What was the question? I'm sorry. The question is, Martha?
Martha, you're breaking up. You're breaking up, Martha.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Well, Martha, is there any further comment or question on this?
She dropped off. I don't, we
Oh, she
lost her.
dropped off. Oh,
She'll probably be back. So we'll, okay, there
Here she comes.
okay.
I was just saying, we don't need to go back and see it in 2 months. Sorry. See in 2 months, but it's to see if there was a decrease. No? Okay.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else on this portion of the Finance Review Committee? All right. Well, hearing nothing more, then let's move on to the monthly board check detail for May of 2021. It's all in our board packet as well. And when I went through this, I asked our business manager, Anna, a few questions here and there. When I asked about, here is on page 3, it's item number 114604, and it's for the Juneteenth Cultural Committee. And Sylvia explained that for the upcoming Juneteenth events coming here very soon. And our library's involvement with the programming of all that, and the library has a very active role in that. So that is that part of it. And Sylvia did say that she would explain more of that in her president's report about what all that entails and that upcoming event. So the only other questions I had were moving back more into the back of the document where there's a number of various individuals. For instance, here on page 6, we have an item number 114626 to Yolanda Brooks for $200. And then underneath that item number 114627, Russell Danielle for $840. And then it goes down to another expenditure of $1,020. And then more of the same on the next page as well. And explained to me that, and to the finance committee, that these are for independent contractors who provided services during the year in such areas as literacy and other grants. And this was the time to pay them for their work, and they're not regular employees of the library, but again, once again, independent contractors. And as such, that answered my questions. So that was those are the only two areas that really that came to my mind that I had wanted to ask about. So, but I did want to relate that on to the entire
Go ahead,
board.
Tatiana.
Any other questions or comments on the monthly board check detail from May of 2021?
I have 2 questions related to what you brought up, Larry.
Very good,
First,
thank you.
is there more information to be given on what was done this past year by those independent contractors? What services were provided this past year?
So
That's
those
my first question. Sorry, and then my second
Yes.
question would be related to the Juneteenth event. First of all, I'd like to say I'm excited about the event. Second of all, I would like to just ask out of curiosity if that amount is a normal amount that we spend on activities for the library. Those are my 2 questions.
Thank you. Well, Anna, regarding the expenditures for the independent contractors, possibly you could give more detail to answer that question for Tatiana.
Yes, the independent contractor, it depends on their various areas of expertise, and we pay them was the individual's rate plus the hours they work, and they do submit a timesheet that is reviewed and approved, and then those information after we pay them from the library, we do. Well, I don't, but Gail do send in the reports, and we do get expensive to the grants.
those independent contractors are delivering services per different grants. The bulk of those are digital literacy contractors who do instruction, and the vast majority, the newer names that you're seeing, are through our Illinois Department of Public Health Association Pandemic Navigator Grant, in which we were able to pay pay community health workers a living wage for the duration of the grant. So it's all service-based, and it's written, when I write all of these grants, they're written into the grant to deliver the services and to meet the outcomes.
Thank you so much, Gail. Would it be possible, so that this is not a reoccurring issue where we might have questions about this, is it possible to attach a memo to the effect of what you've just said, that it says what these people are doing and what grant it's associated with?
Sure.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I address Juneteenth? Is that okay, Anna?
Certainly, Sylvia, yes.
So as far as Juneteenth is concerned, Tatiana, I don't know if that's a normal fee that they, give to, different programming, but the library is taking a very active role in Juneteenth. As you know, we wrote it down as a holiday for the library. Some of the things that will be provided will be, of course, all of the services that the library is going to be doing, which is quite a few. They're in the passport book that everybody will receive. So there's a ad in there. The Waukegan Public Library is along with the other sponsors on the front of the book and on every sandwich board that is going to be placed throughout the community. Also, John is going to get on one of the tour buses and he's going to take the journey along with the other citizens in the Lake County area. So there, and it'll be live on Facebook so that those people that can't come out to see it, they will be able to experience through the bus tour that's going to take place. So it all, I mean, basically is, just, I don't know, it just, that's pretty much what it's for.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. And I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to President's report. Okay, Larry, you want to go ahead and make a motion that we accept?
Right, I will just inform the entire board, we did approve, there was a motion made and seconded and approved to bring the Finance Committee report to the board for your review for approval for the summary of the for the monthly check detail ending in May 31st of 2021. So with that in mind, I make a motion to accept the monthly check detail for the period ending May 31st of 2021 to have that approved at the meeting this evening.
Get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Josue, all in favor? Tatiana,
No.
Rob,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Josue,
Aye.
Martha, I'm saying aye. Motion carried. We'll come back and see what Martha says when we can get her audio. So I'll leave that open. Motion's carried. And we will move on then to the acting. Is that Martha? Okay, we'll come back to Martha, but the motion did carry. So we're moving on to the acting executive director's report.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll keep it short today. Summer library experience is on June 4th through August 7th. It's called Reading Colors Your World. I would encourage every board member and friends and family of board members and anybody you talk to, please do spread the word about our summer program. It's not just for kids, it's for all ages. There are prizes and activities and it's going to be an action-packed summer. It's going to be full of wonderful colors. And so please do spread the word amongst your spheres of influence. The building is in good shape. Our maintenance department is working on building new plexi to put around the children's desk and around the customer service desk upstairs on the main floor. We did have one departure. Gabriel has left us for a library closer to home. So best wishes in his future endeavors. We did make one promotion from within. Jose Rosa has been moved from customer service associate to a clerk, I should say, to patron services coordinator. He'll oversee the stuff that's happening on the main floor and keep an eye on staffing levels and the curbside process, as well as some of the kiosk services. We're close to posting an IT technical position, so working as a web admin and working with Isaac in the IT. So if you know anyone in the IT field that is looking for work, please do spread the word. We will be posting that shortly on our website. As far as our reopening on June 1st, we moved to 1.5 hour appointments for walk-ins as well. And the whole main floor is open to browsing, so all the DVDs and adult materials and young adult are available. There is a small collection of children's materials, and study rooms or meeting rooms A and B have been combined to create a children's space on the main floor. As far as one of the things we've been talking about, Karina and Gail and I have been meeting with David Motley and Jane Ferry quite frequently. We've met a couple times now to talk about bringing back the summer concert series, but instead of a weekly concert series, we're looking to do a monthly concert series in conjunction with Art Walk. So we'll move our concerts from Friday to Saturday, hopefully, and do a concert around anywhere between 3 and 5 p.m. to start. at the library's location. We're excited about bringing back the concert series, as is the city, bringing back things slowly into the community as is safe and prudent. As far as our cross-functional patron services team, oh, Martha's joining us again. Let me admit her. We are combining reference assistants and clerks to make one solid team of people to handle the main floor service. It's a more holistic way of working together as a team to provide service to every patron equally. When I first started, there was an awful lot of this. We don't do that at this desk. You got to go over there. We're eliminating that problem altogether by every single person being on task and on target with the patrons who walk in our building. So no one is made to wait. No one is made to be pushed from one desk to another. We're going to help them anywhere that they come to ask for help. And so there we have instituted a floater position. So that way, anybody who's currently helping a patron and somebody's waiting, we can pop in and help the patrons when they need it. We've moved all work and staff conversations away from behind the desks. That was a perennial problem at our library, that conversations between staff were taking place at public service desks. Therefore, we've requested that people no longer do that and focus primarily on the patrons first. It's no feeling important when you walk into a library building, and that's what we want our patrons to feel and experience when they come in. So our goal is to make sure all of our patrons are addressed and served immediately and personally, and we're working together to get training for people who haven't done something in a while, like making reservations in our study rooms or meeting rooms, and or making a new library card. We shouldn't be shuffling patrons around the building if we can't do it at one desk. We're working on making sure that we can do it at all desks, and have been focusing on this for the past couple of years. Since I was in charge of services, this has been the mainstay. No patron goes unanswered. No person goes ignored. So please do stop in and check out the main floor kiosk service, what it looks like, what it's like to experience it. I want to thank the trustees who do take part in our curbside. I see Tatiana almost every day driving through our parking lot with a stack of books to return. So thank you, patrons and library board members. Pride Day was a success for our community. We were able to host around 20 people on our property, while the folks from the LGBTQ+ Center gave a story time. It was well received, and the event across the street was really festive and fun, and there was a lot of people out, hundreds of people out in the parking lot across the street. So it was really good to be a part of this successful community inclusive event. And last but certainly not least, I want to remind trustees that my door is always open. My cell phone number is available to you. If you don't have it, I can send it to you, but please do give me a call to discuss library business anytime. Prior to the board meeting, day of the board meeting, just give me a shout. I am here for you and here to listen. So thank you very much for the opportunity to serve, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak about our work.
Thank you very much for your report. And if we could have our service report, Gail.
Good evening, everyone. Ms. England, if you could allow Karina to share her screen, we will provide visuals for you this evening.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So as John mentioned, over these last couple of months and moving into the summer, we're really focused on developing new and engaging summer programming to rebuild our connectivity with the public and with the community. We're building our services capacity and strengthening our partnerships. So one of the biggest things with July 1st is opening and providing access, equity and access to our family and children's materials and spaces. So as you can see, classroom A and B has been converted into a mini children's area. We have parents and children in beanbags doing their own story times and reading. The collection, key points of interest from the collection are there, as well as tables and seatings for passive programming. People can do coloring and things like that while they're, waiting for their children to look at the books, or they can read together. And as you can see, that those pictures were actually spontaneous. Someone was walking by and saw how much the families were enjoying the space and asked if they could take some pictures. So that is one of our big endeavors for the summer, and everything that we do, we evaluate every 2 weeks to see what more we can do, what we need to change, and how we can increase the effectiveness of what we're doing with the changes that are going on. Okay, Ms. Karina. We're also as John mentioned, another big change is the children's public computers and family computers are outside, and we have designated teen computers. So there is a space where teens can relax and be on the computers themselves. We have reopened the branch, and over the course of the summer, we'll be focused on rebranding the branch. We've already had our first meeting with our new branch staff and the Park District to talk about how we can better align our children's and family services and programming out in the community at the branch and with the Park District to have more impactful services and delivery. Hey, Karina. So with our Color Your World, this week, the summer lunch program launched, and on day one, we successfully handed out all 25 meals. So I want to give a special shout out to the lunch team who's in the back working really hard. Also our safety team who escorted a couple of families that were in the library, around the library, to the back so they could partake in the healthy lunches. New programs for this summer include Plant Your World, which is next week, along with the preschool learning time, summer crafts, which will be outside on the patio. Cole's Museum had its first Friday of STEAM at WPL last week. Unfortunately, we had the water main, so we ended up closing early. But every other Friday until August 6th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Cole's Children's Museum will be a pop-up stop at the Waukegan Public Library on the patio with STEAM activities for children and families, children's ages 3 to 8. And we will be providing some co-services along with that, not just hosting the museum. In our adult reference services, we're continuing the summer with the Color Your World format. So there's a number of very interesting teen programs. But I'll start with adults first. So we have the Fantasy Book Club and the Waukegan Writing Group, along with a colorful adult art contest, which will result in people providing us with art submissions. And there will be a contest with a $50 prize. So get your art and pencils and paintbrushes ready. Okay. In adult education services, so back to that initial question, what are some of those grant-funded people and contractors doing? So we are continuing to be a mainstay in the community in terms of education and awareness around COVID, and particularly the vaccine. As you're all aware, in our communities of color, we are not getting vaccinated. And so we are really providing a lot of support in that area and using grant funds to increase marketing and education, as well as educators that are out and about in the community. In July, we will be launching our new Come In and Have a Talk with Jennifer and Talk with Sandra. So we're going to have social workers that in the beginning will be able to have appointments through telehealth, but then it'll be face-to-face appointments and talk time. Something a little different than Coffee with Kate, but in that same light, we are receiving calls from our community. Hey, are we going to have something new like Coffee with Kate? So people are missing it, and we're working really hard to get this underway for July. And this has been funded through a grant with the Lake Forest Hospital for the tune of $26,000, which will cover the cost of social worker services for a 6-month pilot. And lastly, we're launching a couple of new classes. Our Everything you need to know about Office 365. There's going to be a Google workshop, and our intakes are really picking up as we're increasing our new learners. People are ready to come back and improve their math and reading skills, get their GEDs, and learn to speak English. So our referrals are increasing. That's it for the month of June and July. Oh, forgot the last thing, sorry. Hotspots, our hotspots are ready and they are hot. So now the community can check out activated Wi-Fi hotspots. They come in a protective case. They have instructions on how to utilize them. It's just like checking out a book or another resource. So we're helping our community to be connected to the internet. John has a packet. If you look at his window up there in Zoom, you can see what it looks like. And so far, we're getting a very good response. We did an internal pilot, we tested, we put them through the ringer before we release them out to the community. And there'll be more to come on that soon. So I welcome any questions.
I have questions. Shocker. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you that these are really great programs, and it's really exciting to go onto the website and see these being offered. I have a question, maybe it's an Isaac question, but about the ticker on the website, or I don't know if you call it a ticker, but the changing display. I'm wondering if we can have that updated or the ability to include more images to share what you have shown tonight. I did not see anything about the Cole Children's Museum and some of these other programs. So I'm wondering if we have the ability to expand that initial banner on the website. So maybe that's just more of a comment than a question. I do have a question about the hotspots. Specifically, I'm wondering what the cost is on that if a patron were to not return that, and how the fee is being handled for that, if there's any extra, anything extra related to that.
So these first set of hotspots were purchased by the library. There would be a fee if it were lost or not returned. The way that we handle it, if you don't return it within your checkout time, the first thing that happens is it's deactivated, and it's just a hockey puck or a paper holder because it has no other services. But we then can call people because we're checking them out just like you would any other book, and the goal would be to get them returned. But at this point, it's more important to get them in our hands of our community first. We do have an agreement. There is some, it's not really an agreement, but there's information that comes with the hotspot that says if you don't return it, there is a fee, that they would be fined because it would be like lost materials.
Right.
As we continue to expand this program out, the remaining purchases of hotspots will be covered under a grant and not library operating funds.
Okay, and what is that, John? Do you know what that cost is that's charged to a patron should they not return?
The device itself is $100. The charger is $10. The box is $3.
We couldn't ask them to put a security deposit down on that.
We do not want to create a situation where it's prohibitive for people to take these out. We really want them to get out in the community, and we want to try it this way first. If it does become an obstacle, then we will consider doing that. But the first step as we exit the pandemic is to get them into our community members' hands.
Okay, thank you, Gail.
Thank you as always.
Can we move on to Karina? Go ahead, Martha.
Quick question. My question is that, like, do they return it like after 3 months or 6 months? And then is there a way to really check and see if they're really using it? Because then if they're not really using it, then, or 3 months or whatever, because then we could track them and then we can say, oh, you know what, if you're not really using it, you know what, can you bring it back in? Because we may have another family, so then we could disperse them, you know, like not, in other words, just because we gave them one doesn't mean they're going to keep it forever, because maybe they're not really using it and then they're just wasting it, where we can give it to another family that's really going to use it.
So again, it's like checking out any other library resource. It's a 3-week. We do have data and we will be looking at utilization. Go ahead, John.
It's a 1-week circulation.
Ah, I thought we were 3. Oh, I think I told somebody wrong.
But
1 week
I
circulation.
believe that we'll eventually get to a 3-week circulation with them because, you know, 1 week might be pretty quick for turnaround.
Are they handed any policy information about this when they're handed it out, or is it they would have to go online and look that up?
There's information, instructions thing about the fees are in the box, and it's reviewed when someone checks it out.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just have one follow-up question real quick for Gail. Gail, what the Jocelyn Center was referenced. What I've not heard of that. What is that?
The Jocelyn Center is a social services and counseling center. They are well known in Chicago and in Glenview. Last year, at the start of the pandemic, they opened an office here in Waukegan because they were serving so many Waukeganites in their Northbrook office, and they really wanted to become a part of this community. So as a partner with Lake Forest Hospital, they were very interested in being able to deliver services here in the community for no fee. So again, the grant covers kind of the cost of the counseling and the social worker. This is an open drop-in one-on-one appointment that is free to our public.
So the Jocelyn Center is composed of a staff of social workers and psychologists, or
social workers, therapists, psychologists, PhDs, licensed clinical social workers, and they have a very robust and culturally diverse staff. And so they are going to be addressing and meeting the cultural needs of our community so that our social workers that'll be on site look and feel like people of our community. And that's going to be a really important piece for engaging people.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
May I ask, in relation to Larry's question, what made them choose the library as the location for this?
I think a number of things. We are really seen as a stalwart, as a place in the community that people want to be able to partner and be that spot where the community can go, as we like to say, that third space. And also in relationship to our functional health literacy program, where we are providing a lot of access and equity to health services that are along the lines of education. So again, remember, this is counseling, but if people choose to go into a more formal counseling, we transition them over to the Jocelyn Center. So the relationship as the next 6 months progress will be, I think, very nice for connecting our community members to services that oftentimes they can't access.
Are you able? That's great. Are you able to answer if this is something that people would have standing week appointments for 6 weeks or 6 months, or if there's a limit to how many appointments one individual can seek?
So as we start out, we don't have limits because it's going to take a while for this to build up. We're not exactly a therapy seeking, counseling seeking community. And so the idea of talking to someone is how we're positioning this. As it expands, we'll have more hours. We're only starting with 8 hours, 4 hours with a bilingual Spanish speaker, culturally competent social worker, and one who's an English speaker and African American. And it will expand based on needs.
Thank you for answering.
No problem.
Is there a flyer on the website, or how can we refer? Because since I worked with Waukegan schools and I'm still close with a lot of people who do the IEPs for Waukegan schools, do you have a flyer where they could pass this out, their IEPs?
The flyer that we just showed you is our draft flyer. We won't be launching until mid-July. So we're finalizing everything and crossing our T's and I's, and we'll start referrals. But we'll be working very closely with the parent engagement team, with Waukegan Park District, Waukegan Public School District, as well as the team that works with families experiencing homelessness, and several other organizations that will be able to make referrals, as well as just our patrons that drop in and are in the building and want to make use of the service. So we'll get you a flyer was the short answer, but we have strategies in place to increase referrals and partnerships.
I have one last thing. Sylvia, if you think it's more suited for comments, please feel free to interrupt me. Is there any concern or apprehension about all of these grants and all of these health programs coming into the library? It seems to me almost that there's becoming an imbalance in all of these programs through grants as opposed to general library programming.
So a lot of these programs that we're talking about that are being driven by grants, one is there is a number of programs that have been developed directly in relationship to the pandemic. And some of those services will go away gradually over the next year. Then there's a core of programming and services that it's not sort of one or the other. We can't not grow something where there's a critical need in our community, but we can continue to grow and develop and expand our more traditional library services at the same time. And that's really important. I don't expect a year from now to be sweating it out over $1.3 million in grant funds. But I do expect that we'll continue to grow our capacity sort of on both sides, library operations as well as our grants. The grants are very focused. I'm not greedy. I only take things that are really important for our community and make sense for both the library and the community. But we're looking at that. I mean, your point is very legitimate, and we always are mindful of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, moving right along. Karina?
Yes, and if you give me a sec, I will share my screen. And if we have some time, I'd like to present our promotional video, if this cooperates. If you haven't seen it already, it's only a minute long, so I'll share that with you. Yes, so I wanted to start with that. It was a lot of fun to make. Our staff really enjoyed making that together. And it's gotten a lot of attention online. We've already seen our engagement increase dramatically over the last 28 days. So we're really excited to see the numbers coming and to kind of kick off the summer with that. So I wanted to make sure I shared that. And so that was really what kicked off Reading Colors Your World. And so other ways we've been promoting is the yard signs that I mentioned last month, working with the park district to get those at the parks. So if you see them, you can scan the QR code and they're kind of accessible to the public. So you can scan it and then register directly to Beanstack. And if you've visited the library lately, you've also seen our outdoor banner for Reading Colors Your World, also with the QR code. So patrons can just scan it with their phones and register for their program. And ads. So working with People's Voice, our local community magazine, to try to get the word out for all the things we have going on this summer, our reading challenge, our summer lunch program, as well as the Coles Children Museum. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll be working with different community magazines, newspapers to continue to get the word out. And then as Gail and John mentioned, we really had a blast at Pride, had an overwhelming positive feedback from the community. We're really excited to see the library represented. We participated in the Pride Drive and as well as the resource fair. So that was a lot of fun. We got to really engage and with different members of the community, near and far. People were coming from all over, so that was a lot of fun. And then continuing on with community events, actually tomorrow and this Saturday, as was briefly mentioned, Juneteenth celebration, both tomorrow virtually with the College of Lake County, and on Saturday with our Lake County Juneteenth Committee. I won't talk too much in detail because I know Miss England will cover that. But I wanted to make sure I mentioned that, and to remember to come see us on Saturday. And then coming up, look out for our very colorful shoebox flow as part of the American Independence Parade with the Waukegan Park District. So make sure to vote for our flow when it goes live, and it'll be a really colorful one with the tiny little books. And then I wanted to make sure to share a community initiative that actually was announced today in collaboration with Drip and Culture and the Waukegan Foundation, Waukegan Public Library Foundation. We have specific merch that will be unique to the library that actually Nidia Gonzalez, the co-founder, co-owner of Gonzalez and Drip and Culture, designed just for us that you see here. With custom totes, mugs, and t-shirts, stickers, with portions of that going to support Waukegan Public Library. In addition, if you stop by in person, you will see a curated collection that you can see here in the little library that our very own Francisco and Chuck built and painted. And then in addition, a book list and bookmarks that visitors can take with books that they can check out at the library, and how to get a library card and all of that information with QR codes again to check out directly. So make sure you stop by and support our fundraising project. Question, yes.
No question. Thank you.
Oh, no?
Wonderful presentation. Wonderful. I really love this. I really love this. So I don't know who's involved, but it's beautiful. It's aesthetically beautiful and really, really cool. And I'm so excited about it. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, is that everything, Karina?
Yes, unless anyone
That's
else.
very good. I love that video. Anybody else have a comment? I mean, not a comment, but a question. You can hold your comments until board comment time, but if you have a question of Karina, this would be a great time to ask.
I just have a follow-up real quick. So on the final visual, we saw libraries are dope. Is that what that means? Is that what it said? What I mean, I guess you're saying that you can get a high from a library. Is that kind of what you're is that the message you're communicating? What is the message?
No. Dope. It can be cool. It is slang, I guess, but that's essentially what it means is cool. Libraries are still kind of going off of the language that Drip and Culture has used for other things.
Oh, okay.
Larry, you're showing your age.
I guess so. I thought, wait a minute, I don't know. Okay. Well, as long as most everyone gets it, I'll get it eventually.
The kids get it. The kids
get it. Okay, all right, okay.
Any other questions of Karina? Well, thank you, Karina. That was a well done report. And Gail, also thank you very much. I just want to, first of all, thank the library staff for what they're doing, for the community. And I want to thank the staff also for what they're doing. Couple things that I have on my list today. Number one, I saw a newsletter from the Waukegan Public Library. And of course, I was stopped in the middle of the street by a lady that used to be my neighbor. But she was showing me the newsletter and I really couldn't make a comment because I'm still not getting one. So I don't know if anyone else is in that same boat, but for some reason, I'm not getting the newsletter. So it would be really good if you could figure out how to get the newsletter to me. I mean, if you tell me when it's going to go out, I'll come pick it up. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm not getting it. That's number one. Number two, just looks like just recently Congress just approved the bill to make June 19th the 12th federal holiday. So we were ahead of the curve on this one. So I'm kind of excited about Juneteenth becoming a holiday, especially a federal holiday. So for those of you that had some questions about Juneteenth, like Karina was saying, is going to be on Saturday. Juneteenth this year is a lot different from Juneteenth in the past in Waukegan. This year is going to be a Juneteenth journey. And what is going to happen is people will stop at Genesee and Corey and pick up a map, and they're going to travel around Waukegan and North Chicago, looking at places of interest, places that where they could gather additional African-American history and culture. There's going to be dancing, food, spoken word, choirs, the little Wall Street in North Chicago, the library. I'm really excited about what the library is doing for Juneteenth. The Haynes Museum, or I guess it's the Waukegan, that's the Haynes Museum, the Historical Society, but it's the Haynes Museum. They're going to be exhibiting a display that talks about the desegregation of the Waukegan Public Schools. And it's the first time that the public has seen this collection. So I'm excited about seeing that. So it's going to be a journey where people pick up a map and they're going to travel from one place to another. And it is kind of like a sampler, if any of you have done a sampler before. So you go from place to place and pick up information. And just in case you're really, really interested in one place or the other, you could go back after the journey ends. It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's approximately about a 2.5 to 3 hour tour across the city. So if you want additional information, if you text me, I'll send you the flyers and I'll give you additional information about it. Any questions about Juneteenth before I move on? Tatiana?
Shocker, Martha can go.
Can we post it on Facebook? I'm sorry I can't be there. I have another event going on that day, but can we post it on Facebook? Do we have permission?
Sure.
It'll be
And-
posted.
And also, is it on Waukegan Public Library Facebook already?
I'm sure it is. I think, Karina, is it on the Facebook page for the library?
Not yet, but we will be sharing that we will be closed and inviting people to join us on Saturday.
Okay.
No, you need to post it today because it should have been posted like a week ago, right? Don't you think so, for people to plan? Can you do it today or tomorrow?
Flyer?
Yeah, definitely.
You can put the flyer out. Also, there's going to be a bus and there's a link and it's on Eventbrite. So if anybody would like to get on a bus and take the journey, there would be a bus available for that. Tatiana, your question.
Yeah, I guess, and again, you know, I'm always the person to ask these kind of questions. So it's not personal. I just have to ask. I guess my only concern about the level of involvement that the library has in this is that it will set precedent for future events. I'm really excited that the library is involved, but it seems like the library is very involved monetarily. And so I guess I just wanted to know a little bit more about what the monetary involvement of the library is.
So as an example, some of the other programs that we've had at the library throughout the pandemic have cost around $350 for a presenter to give a virtual presentation. The selling point for this for me as acting director and in discussing this with the services team, with Gail and Karina, is that we not only get the advertisement to be sponsors, so the library is sponsoring an event, but also we are one of the 6 main stops on the 16 stop tour. 17. So they're growing. So, but this is important because we are setting our flag in the ground and saying we are here to support this event and be a part of the community events, because this isn't something that the community has really done a lot of in the past. This is kind of the second year we've officially recognized Juneteenth, and maybe not second, I don't even know. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not an uncharacteristic amount to spend on a program, and it's actually pretty affordable compared to some of the other programs we've had to pay for. We've got bids for a mariachi band at like $1,500. So, I know that's 3 hours worth of programming, but at the same time, it's a necessary expense in the cost of doing business.
Great. And my questions are more that we are open about how this is being handled and our support for various events, right? So I just wanted transparency. So I just wanted to be open with the public about this event, and I will continue to ask this question about every single event. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you. I think it's really exciting. I'm very excited to see what the library has in store, and I think it's a really cool event. So thank you very much.
And the other thing, Tatiana, is I think that because of the underserviced community, that Juneteenth will put Waukegan Public Library, in a light where they can come and see what's at the library. So I think for me, I think it's excellent advertisement for the library.
I want to ask something though.
Yes.
Because we're right now still requiring appointments, but we need on Saturday, we're not going to have appointments. Aren't the people just going to be able to just come in the library? So if we can do it Saturday, then I need to bring it up. I'm sorry, but I don't understand why we have appointments when everyone else around us does not have appointments. So we're not having appointments Saturday, because if we're going to just let people come in to the library, right?
No.
So the library is closed
I was gonna
on
say.
Saturday as the Juneteenth holiday. This will
Okay.
be outside programming on the patio. However, we're no longer requiring appointments for people to come in to use the library. You can just drop in. It's just right now we're still holding on to the 1.5-hour time left. Where we do require appointments is more like one-on-one instruction or assistance for digital literacy or intake for the adult literacy programs. Those require appointments, but people can freely come in and out of the library because right now we're not finding, bottlenecks. We're able to serve and support everyone.
But on the website, it says you need a call to make an appointment to come visit the library. That's what it says on the website. It says 1.5 hours, and it says you need to call such and such a number to visit the library.
It also says, oh, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say it says walk-ins welcome, and then space subject to availability. So if we do reach our maximum capacity, then we would have to turn folks away, which is why if we haven't gotten to that point, but just kind of as a disclaimer, in case that does happen, if you wanted to secure your spot, also study rooms, you can call and reserve those as well.
Martha, I think that what you're asking, if you could contact John and have that discussion with John, and I will finish my report if that's okay.
That's fine. That's fine. I wasn't sure if it was, I wasn't sure if it was in the facility by, like including it in the tour. That's why I brought that up. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes my report. So moving on to new business. Let's start with number A, and it says a motion to approve letter of engagement to retain law firm of Addison DeNofo. Go ahead.
Don't ask me to pronounce them all yet. I haven't been there long enough.
Castadole LTD as library counsel, and I apologize if I butchered those names. So, can we get a motion to put it on the floor and we can have a discussion about it?
Yeah, I make a motion to put on the floor the item for discussion of the law firm of Alderson, DeNofo, Hassenbog, and Castaldo Limited.
Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and second by Tatiana. So it's been motioned and properly second by Tatiana to approve the letter of engagement to retain the law firms as mentioned as a library counsel. Let's go to a discussion. And could you keep your discussion to one one discussion, please, and then we'll come back and see how things work out. So with that, Josue, what you got for us?
So my question is regarding the length of the contract, and also with that the termination of it if the library decides to do so. Could you explain how the termination would work? I see that's a 10-day notice. And does that mean that the library cuts off there, does not have to pay for the rest of the contract?
So the way that a contract termination works is you give us a written notice that you no longer are interested in working with us. We bill you for all of the services that we provide through the end of the contract, which would be that 10-day notice. You know, and then you're done. The contract expires at that point. It is a 2-year agreement. It goes through July of 2023. So, but
So
you do always
why
have
is
that
it a 2-year
flexibility.
agreement?
I'm sorry?
Why is it a 2-year agreement?
That was generally what I was asked to provide, was a 2-year agreement. It's a pretty standard, format. If you would like to amend it to a 1-year agreement, I'm pretty sure we can accommodate that.
Thank you.
Josue, you said something, we didn't hear what that comment was.
I said thank you.
Okay, all right. And one comment. Anyone else have a comment or discussion?
Well, I have a comment or question rather.
Question?
Thank you. Yeah. So this law firm, Douglas, is a does it do a lot of civil representation of cities or public entities or sort of thing, or what kind of a law firm? What is the main focus of their practice?
Their main practice is local government law. They represent a lot of library districts, municipalities, fire protection districts, all the rest of it. So this really is their bread and butter. That's part of the reason that I went to them.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Josue, go ahead.
Is there a reason why we have 2 attorneys assigned to the library, and is there and why one of them gets paid more?
Sure. So part of it's that I'm the new guy in the firm, so they want to make sure that my boss is named in the contract. You'd note that even the agreement you had with Bob Long's firm, he was also named in the agreement.
Yeah.
Even though I'm the principal attorney who will be handling pretty much every matter for the library. It's also just sort of, if an issue comes up where you need additional assistance, or if I'm not able to cover, there is a fallback attorney. Although you will notice that in the rates that we provide for various attorneys, I did name a couple of other associates in there at the lower rate. So we will try to the best of our ability, use associates where appropriate to make sure that we're able to give you the benefit of the rate reduction.
And regarding the rate, I had a follow-up question, and this is more for John. Did we analyze if it was at a lower cost that we could get a monthly retainer versus an hourly rate?
We did not research retainers. We just compared to what we were losing our attorney, our library counsel, because the law firm that we worked with is no longer working with the city, and it's really a conflict of interest for us to be represented by the same attorneys as the city. We did price comparison basically on what we were paying versus what we would be paying if we were to try and choose the same company as the city, law firm as the city, versus what Douglas's new firm will offer.
Okay, Tatiana.
Are we without legal counsel at the moment?
The answer is it's squishy. Certainly I will still be billing you for the time that I've engaged in items over the last week. because I have been providing legal advice based on the understanding between me and the executive director and the board president that we will be providing services to you. So that advice is based on, this agreement being passed. Ultimately, if you choose not to accept it tonight, we will only bill you for that time.
Can I ask Josue a question?
Go ahead.
Josue, can you explain to me what it would matter to you about a shortened contract given the the way that this is worded, that you could provide 10 days notice? So I'm just trying to understand why you would want to seek a 1 year over a 2 year, given that clause in there.
My concern was more regarding, I guess, how long we have the fee locked in for, and also why it mattered to have a 2-year contract if we could just end it in 10 days, and why not like a monthly contract.
Ordinarily, these appointments are, so that you have some continuity and some understanding between the parties that, we are going to be providing these services for a length of time, and, it's not the uncertainty of a month-to-month contract, which can, and I'm not saying would in this particular instance, but could increase rates.
Did that answer your question, Tatiana? Okay, so it's been moved and properly second that we approve the letter of engagement to retain the law firm of Ottoson, DeNolfo, Hassenball, close, and Castaldo.
Castaldo, yeah, I think
Castaldo?
it's Castaldo, but
That's
I
LTD.
I haven't met all the partners yet. I'm still, sort of working my way through the firm.
Okay, as the library council, all in favor, let's do a roll call. Tatiana,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Josue.
Aye.
Martha,
Aye.
and I for me. Okay, motion approved. And we now have a new law firm. And I want to just say thank you, Douglas, for the work that you've done for the library. And I also want to congratulate you for being the president of the Bar Association, Lake County Bar Association.
Our foundation,
Foundation.
the charitable arm of the association, but thank you.
Okay, so moving right along, we are going to go to item B, motion to adopt the use of the library policy as written and approved by the governance committee. Josue, would you give us a little bit on that?
Yeah, so the governance committee at the last meeting, or actually at the last meetings, discussed the library policies. And so we are presenting a new use of the library policy that the governance committee approved at the last committee meeting.
So can someone kind of give us like a quick synopsis on, okay, go ahead, Douglas.
Well, I was just going to point out before we even entered into a real discussion about this that I emailed out a slightly amended version this afternoon. There was a Scrivener's error that Tatiana pointed out to me earlier today, where I used the term patron and customer interchangeably, and so I straightened that out. This policy combines the two policies that previously had existed regarding the use of the library, but also conduct at the library. This makes it, much more consistent and along the lines of what the board had asked for in the past, which was much more patron friendly and providing a lot more guidance to staff in de-escalation protocols. So those were really the highlights of this policy.
Okay.
And just to follow up on that. We're not really creating new rules, correct, John? Douglas, we're just clarifying the language.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. This is simply cleaning up some of the redundancies in the policies, merging them together, and making it one cohesive policy.
Tatiana?
My question is probably for John, but anyone can address it. I appreciate all of our conversations back and forth about the benefit of the vague terminology and that we're not defining certain terms. But I do wonder how that will be addressed, John, specifically by you in terms of staff and what is interpreted as disruptive or disorderly or unruly conduct, and also what's deemed inappropriate clothing. So while I understand that we didn't want to get so specific in this document, I do wonder how much pressure that will then put on our library staff to make those calls. And John, just any feedback you have to offer about that.
Yes. So the policy being up here, the umbrella that covers us, the law, and so forth. And then just below the policy is the procedure, how things work within the organization. And then there's the guidelines that we kind of give to people. And at this point, since I've been here in 2018, my goal in working with the services team is to let the staff use their best judgment. Never go alone to address, but we all have a responsibility to address patron behavior. It isn't one of those, I got to get on the phone to call safety because this person's being loud and disruptive over here. That's been our MO up until this point, kicking people out left and right. We were a disciplinary library, pushing people out the door for years, when even though our policy didn't allow it. We give the staff the ability to make a decision and trust their judgment. Now, my recommendation to most staff is to never go alone, so to go in teams of 2. And if they feel after the first time they tell a patron something, for example, please pull your mask up, if that patron doesn't respond or gets mouthy or gets rude or disrespects our staff, which is pretty apparent when you're being disrespected, they can go straight to another staff member or safety and say, this person has been mouthy to me. But we do have a responsibility, frontline staff have a responsibility to alert the patron as to their behavior, and whether it's a judgment call about what the appropriateness of clothing is or whatnot. Again, I will stand behind our staff 100% in their judgment call, and we can assess those situations as they arise. More than anything, we want our staff to stop being afraid of our patrons and to be willing to approach our patrons and not confront them, because that's no way to conduct business. It's to ask people nicely to please watch the language, or please keep your feet off the furniture. Instead, people say, this is not the place for that, you can't do that here. Then we've already started ourselves in an adversarial way. So we really have to work as a staff. This has been kind of our MO. We were disciplining our own patrons and telling people not to do things. And that's no way to conduct business. It's the best way is to ask people and to respectfully request. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that people will immediately respond the right way, but it all comes down to the messaging and the willingness to have the conversation. It comes down to a conversation and the willingness to have that conversation. So it will be up to the discretion of individual staff members. And if they're not comfortable, they know the chain of command is they can call their manager, even if the manager isn't in the building. If they can't get a hold of the manager, they can always call Gail or myself anytime. They all have our cell phone.
Thank you, John. What type of de-escalation training is being offered for our employees?
Thus far, anything that's offered via webinars. We haven't had any in-house de-escalation training. The first step was to appropriately instruct the staff about the difference between an incident report and a complaint, because staff were using incident reports to complain about each other. So we've got to, first of all, isolate what the incident report is for, and anything where law enforcement is involved is immediately an incident report worthy event. Now, again, de-escalation training will come in time. We just need to provide that to the staff. But again, the first and foremost is to say something. If you see something, say something.
Douglas, do you have any concerns about the vagueness of these terms in terms of a legal aspect?
No, in fact, I mean, I largely drafted this in consultation with John and looking at how other libraries that are of similar size to Waukegan define these terms. You know, the term disruptive behavior itself is really hard to define. And so, you know, the list that I provide there is representative of behavior that is disruptive, but is not supposed to be all comprehensive. And, you know, does include things like any unlawful conduct. I mean, it really does try to limit this to specific behavior, and it kind of does require staff judgment call. And I really just don't think that there's a way around that. Certainly we could add a definition section and try to define these terms a little bit more clearly, you know, but you would end up with a whole bunch of legalese that your patrons aren't going to understand or you know, read. And so I think that something like this is much more approachable for folks.
Okay, and I'm really sorry for taking time on this, but I think it's imperative and it's quite frankly our responsibility to take time on this. I specifically, there's 3 more things. Prolonged or habitual sleeping. I guess I'm curious why any sleeping is prohibited in the library. Secondly, cell phone usage. Right now it says that you can use your cell phone anywhere in the library. I question why there's not designated areas like other libraries I've been in where you can use your cell phone. And thirdly, my issue, well, 2 more. The offensive odor asked to leave. How is this going to be addressed? Are employees provided a script on how to handle this sensitively with patrons? I have issues with. And the last item is there's nothing in this policy about music or device volume specifically. And I see a lot of speakers brought into the library and things being played on phones that are disruptive.
Well, I can address
Which
that
Douglas, I
last-
think you answered the last part.
I can address that last one the easiest. If you look under section 2, it's the 3rd paragraph. It says the use of cell phones and other electronic devices permitted at reasonable volume that does not disturb others. So that one is in fact included. So speakers would be caught by this policy.
But that's anywhere in the library. I guess I take issue to that being anywhere in the library.
That's a matter.
So the other
of
2
policy, so
issues would
we'll get
be,
John to answer some of those other questions.
okay, yeah, the other ones are sleeping, odor, sleeping, or odor of an individual.
So as far as sleeping, it's not uncommon to have people in the library who are very tired, and it's not up to us to judge whether they are experiencing homelessness or not. If they nod off, we give them a gentle reminder and have been instructed by trainers how to give that reminder without being rude or offensive, especially when it comes to the smell of patrons. If you've worked in a public library as long as I have, you've smelled almost everything. It is definitely there. We had at my last library a 3-6-10 rule. So if you could smell them within 10 feet, you kept an eye on them. If you could smell, or excuse me, if you could smell them within 3 feet, you keep an eye on them. If you could stand within 5 feet and still smell them, it might be worthy of having the conversation. And for example, if you can smell them within 10 feet, then you know you have to say something right away. But if they're sitting off in a corner, they have a smell, but they're not offending anyone, there's really no harm. Similarly with telephone conversations, this is the 21st century. People use their phones all the time, and there is no, and never has there ever been, a designated phone area in here. We've had more conflicts with our patrons, frankly, about cell phone usage than anything. And so therefore, if we can eliminate that as something that we're telling people not to do, but ask them to do it reasonably, I think we avoid a lot more conflict than if we tell them that there's a designated area and they get the phone call winning the lottery. They're not going to move to that designated area, or good news, they're not going to stop to get off the computer and go outside. This is our belief of what is appropriate versus what everyone's belief is with what is appropriate in a public building. And for us to tell them, for example, you're on your phone, you're making it too loud. We ran into a problem with that just a few years ago with a patron down in the children's department who was on the phone, and they were asked to get off their phone, whereas other people in the children's department ELC room, which was requested to be a cell phone free zone, were left to use their phone. So we were having a double standard to begin with. So rather than making people make a judgment call, if it's disruptive, as in if someone comes up to me and says, John, these people's music is bothering me, then it's disruptive and we can do something about it. But if it's my judgment about what's too loud versus, someone's in the library's judgment, it's going to be, give the patron the benefit of the doubt.
But aren't those double standards solved by rules? By one universal rule that is enforced by all and very clear on how to enforce that rule? Doesn't that then alleviate the double standard?
I
I mean,
believe
I
that
can say,
rules were made to be broken, and our patrons most certainly will break every rule they possibly can that we put in front of them. But when we work with our patrons to mediate their issues and difficulties, we are winners. Whereas confrontational, if we tell them that they're violating our rules, which are set not by them, but their standards or cultural beliefs.
okay, I won't waste any more of the board's time, and I will take this discussion private, but thank you for entertaining me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so if we could get a motion to adopt.
Well,
and-
I have a follow-up.
1 minute,
if I may.
Larry. Hold on a
Okay.
minute. Larry.
We should put it on the floor first.
Excuse me 1 minute. Josue.
Yeah, I'll make a
because you-
motion. I'll make a motion to adopt the use of the library policy as written and approved by the governance committee.
Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Quick discussion, Larry.
Right, okay, so looking on the first page of this policy, let me think, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs down at the beginning of the 4th paragraph. Covered beverages are allowed in the library building. However, eating is limited to designated lobby and vending areas. Well, to me, beverages covered or whatever don't belong in the library. I mean, you know, because covered beverages can become uncovered beverages very easily. And before you know it, you have a spill on precious, you know, books or picture or for photographs or whatever, what are into computers, computer equipment. To me, there should be no beverages in the library. So that concerns me. And just wondered if anyone else has that concern too. I mean, I just don't think beverages belong in the library used by patrons. I just don't.
Go ahead, Rob.
I'm not sure who my question is directed towards, but how similar is this use of library to other cities of our kind of size, directness to how close it is? I wouldn't compare ours to like Warren Newport, considering how theirs is so far away from other people, but how ours is very in an active area of the community. How similar is it to that? Because I am just wondering, because at first it seemed kind of very anti-homeless when I was reading it, but hearing John's explanations, I don't see that now. But just wondering how similar all these statements are in other cities like ours. Thank you.
They're all very common statements, and like I sort of led off with, you know, I looked at a number of other communities of similar size and demographic information to Waukegan as the model for this policy. You know, I'm not married to any of the language in it. I'm more than happy to change it, but this is, you know, what I would say is, you know, pretty boilerplate in terms of these kind of policies. I don't think it's intended to be read as discriminating against any group of people, whether homeless or otherwise. You know, certainly I think we've done our best to try to address the public concerns, the safety concerns to the extent possible. And I hope that, you know, if you do have other issues with us, that we can, you know, come up with some language to address those concerns.
This is my last one.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
Well,
Larry.
John, if I may ask John a question. John, has beverage spills been a problem in the library with, I mean, what do we allow now in the library in terms of beverages?
We request our patrons cover their drinks just so that there are no open containers, because if it's an open bottle or open can, cans are the worst. They get knocked over at the computers. They can ruin a computer, but it's mostly on the furniture and the carpet. It's not so much around the computers as it is. And also the food can be an issue with people coming in.
Right.
But it's mostly just the surfaces, like the tables and the people leaving messes behind.
So then, real quick, then have covered beverages been an issue? I mean, do we allow that now, correct? Do we, or?
Currently, we do not allow any drink other than water at the present moment due to the pandemic. Vending machines are all shut down, so we don't have any vending inside. The thing we'd have is people would come in with bags of McDonald's from down around the corner and would eat their whole meal in the library. And while we can't stop, I mean, that's the thing. People will do it whether the rules say they can't or not. But you know, enforcement of said rules becomes a lot more patron friendly when we have a conversation with them about it rather than telling them they can't do it. And especially when you tell somebody they can't do the one thing they've been looking forward to all day. You know, we used to act at one of my libraries as a place where people could have supervised visitations. And it was the only place they could possibly sit and eat together as a family. So this is one of the roles the library can play in the community. And I think we should, you know, try and as much as we can to accommodate people and the way they are as they are. But we do need these rules, this policy to help kind of say, hey, you're really not supposed to be listening to music loud. It was deemed loud by one of your neighbors, so please keep it down. You know, we can have that conversation.
So then you don't foresee covered beverages as a problem at this point?
Not a huge one. I haven't heard anything about from safety or from maintenance about big spills or any kind of problems with food or drink. We request that they don't eat around the computers primarily because it can ruin the electronics. But sitting in a soft chair, sipping a cup of coffee and reading a magazine or a newspaper is perfectly acceptable.
Okay, thank you.
Yo, you have something to say?
I would just say I want to encourage us to remember that this is not our personal homes. We are trying to create open and inviting and warm and welcoming environments for our community members. And many people, has nothing to do with homelessness, but many people, when we were open pre-pandemic, would spend hours in the library. And so an expectation, if this is your third space, if this is your living room and you're going to sit and enjoy a book or watch a movie or whatever, you're going to have a beverage and you might have a snack. And so many people in our community don't have those luxuries, whether it's because they live with lots of people, they just have a little studio, whatever their reasoning is. We'd rather have to either mitigate a little bit of cleanup or wipe something up than not have them partake in our beautiful space. And I think we just really have to bring that to the forefront and realize that there are trade-offs. And this is very much a trade-off that's really important to welcome our community in.
Thank you, Gail. I also want to what you just said, speak to what you just said and say that there are a lot of people in our community that no longer come to our library because of that it's become a third space and they no longer feel safe bringing their children in, that people are sleeping and drinking and eating and it's a mess and it smells and they have all these concerns. So I am beside myself, frankly, with the amount of people coming to me as a trustee who don't even use our library. These are taxpayers. These are people in our community that have lived here for decades and decades and decades who no longer come to our library. They will drive to Gurnee, they will drive to Round Lake, they will drive to Antioch because they can no longer use our facilities because they feel like this third space is now a second shelter. And that is not to discount the homeless population. I think it is our job and our duty and our responsibility to be welcoming to the homeless by providing resources for them, but not becoming another shelter.
So I really wasn't speaking of the homeless, but I, as you said earlier, would welcome to sit in with the conversation with you and John and talk about this more. We want to be an open and welcoming space to all in our community. And I think that what we're all really talking about is balance. It's not 100% in one direction or the other, but what's the sweet spot that will have people comfortable in our space?
May I say something?
Yes, Martha.
So what Tatiana saying is true, because I do go to Gurnee. Besides, I take my group to Waukegan. I do go to the concerts, but as far as when I want a quiet space, I do go to Gurnee, because over there they do enforce and say, if you want to eat something or whatever, maybe we copy what they have, is where they have an area where it is an eating area, books are not allowed in there, but you can buy your soft drink, you can buy your food, but you need to stay in that area. And we teach our students at school what is the proper library behavior, and that is not occurring at our library. It's too noisy. So I say, with like Tatiana's saying, let's have two options. Okay, let's have a loud room where people who want to listen to radio, talk on their phone or whatever, or want to eat can be in that room. But then we also have the quiet area. But then what is the purpose of doing the rules if we're not going to have security enforce the rules?
Thank you, Martha, for that comment. Anyone else? Okay, so it's been
Can
motion
I,
and
can I
properly
say something,
second-
Sylvia?
Yes. Go ahead.
So in my opinion, a lot of the points that were brought up today that could be valid refer a lot to the enforcement of these policies, and I think that is less about what the policies in place, but how the library addresses the issues that are presented on a daily basis. And so we can have a discussion about enforcement with John at a different time.
Okay, thank you for that commentary. Anyone else? Okay, so then it has been motion and properly second that we adopt the use of the library policy as written and approved by the governance committee. All in favor? Roll call. Larry,
No.
Tatiana,
No.
Bob,
Aye.
Josue,
Aye.
Martha,
No.
and I say yes. And we have a tie. 1, 2,
3, it fails.
2, 3, and 3. I'm sorry, Douglas.
Said 3-3, it ties, it's a fail. It
Okay.
fails.
So it is a fail. Okay, so we'll send that back to the governance committee. And if anyone would like to sit in on that committee, you're more than welcome to do so. Josue, that committee meets when?
I forget because we just changed the time, but I can send out the invitation.
Okay, it's on Wednesday, right? You're not Wednesday, Thursday, right?
Thursdays now, yes. I
Thursday.
believe the second Thursday.
Okay. So the second Thursday, if anyone would like to go and sit in and help develop that a little bit more, Jose would love to have you there. Okay, so moving right along. We are at C, motion to approve the increased spending limit up to $25,000 for the purchase of the LED sign. Can I get a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve increasing the spending limit to 25,000 for the sign.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Go ahead, Tatiana.
Yep, I'll make it brief. I went back in my mind and thought, what is the goal of the sign? I already talked to John about this and a couple other board members, but scaling back, thinking about what the purpose of the sign itself is, the goal of the sign is to promote the library and draw attention to the library. I think that we are not on a major intersection. I think we need to think about our spot in the city, that we are in the arts district. I am more in favor of thinking outside of the box and being creative about this, creative problem solving. I would like to propose for consideration the idea of painting the outside of the library and showcasing it that way rather than another sign that is ignored or that people have to stand and read text from, especially when you're getting into 16 to 20 lines of text. It's small. There's a whole host of issues that come along with it, including city ordinances about the brightness of such a device. I would like to talk about that these signs are already everywhere. We can make a bigger impact with more creativity while also engaging our community. I would love to see the library painted on the outside, simple letters that are backlit, whether it's with LED or another device, backlit, simple on the front. And I would love to showcase the garage as a mural point that local artists could possibly put their work on, and also showcase. So we're showcasing local artists, possibly engaging local schools, the high school students. This would also provide a way for students to have their work showcased, to be able to put on resumes and colleges to showcase and show. And also, I think that we have been using the vinyl signs, and while they're consumable and probably not ideal, they are filling a need right now for a fraction of the cost. So we can even brainstorm with Waukegan Public High School. I was told that I should contact the arts teacher at Waukegan Public High School, that perhaps they could help us with the printing and making of signs for programming the vinyl signs. So I think there are a lot of other options, and for this reason, I would like to motion to table the discussion of the LED signage.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, so at this point, let's do a roll call to see if we want to table it. Okay, so Larry,
So an I would be to table and a nay would be not to table. Is that right?
yes,
Okay, I vote aye to table.
okay. Tatiana,
Yes.
Rob,
No.
Josue,
I think that we do need to make the library more visible on the streets, and also our name more visible downtown. I'll vote aye to table this because there's still a lot of, I think, misunderstanding is how we're gonna go about this. But I do want to move forward with better branding and visibility of our building.
Martha,
Aye.
Yes.
and I say yes also. So motion to table, we will table this and bring it back to our next meeting. Okay.
I don't think we should paint our building though.
That's a whole nother discussion. Okay, so we're tabling C and we're moving to D, a discussion about Waukegan Public Library as members of the Waukegan Community Broadband Task Force, Connect Waukegan. So John, could you give us some information on that?
Absolutely, Madam President. So at the beginning of the pandemic, a group of local stakeholders got together and started to discuss the disparity in access to the internet in our community. When I first started working here in 2018, everybody said we couldn't add more electronic resources. We didn't need to add more books because nobody had access to the internet. Nobody had devices. But I believe that statistics and society have proven that roughly 95% of Americans hold a smartphone in some way, shape, or form. So everyone, darn near everyone in our community has access. It's just a matter of connection. So in this group of stakeholders, which includes Beacon Place, the Waukegan Public Schools, the city, Alderman Turner is one of our members of the committee. I've been meeting with this group for almost a year now, and we've been discussing solutions to bring internet connection to people in the city of Waukegan, roughly 90,000 people. And I think that less than 18% of those people have access to the internet. So we are kind of an oasis in terms of access, and we certainly need to address this, but it's not going to work for the library to get 25 or 250 hotspots. It's going to mean that we need to, as a community, pull together and work together towards solutions, be it something that we can add to a bill, a water bill, for example, or do for free for our community. There's lots, gobs of federal money and lots of availability for community broadband projects. We are a little late in the game in the city of Waukegan, but we're better late than never. I hope to present more information about the Waukegan Broadband Committee task force to you. I would like to invite a member of that committee who's kind of a spokesperson, Ann Durrott, to come and give a presentation at some point. But I did want to let you know as a trustees, because the request for proposal has gone out. This group is looking for a consultant to help them lead the way, essentially, in bringing Waukegan into becoming a place, true city of progress. and being a provider of internet for the people who live in Waukegan. Can you imagine what a game changer it would be if every single person was connected? And the library, I think it fits perfectly within our mission of providing the path to empower and support learning and discovery, as well as our vision to a community that's always learning and discovering. It becomes far easier to do with access to the internet. Imagine trying to do homeschooling without access to the internet. And no amount of technology we hand to people is going to work if they can't turn it on and use it in the comfort of their home. So that's a hope. And that's something that I've been participating in as representing the library, but I wanted to bring the board into the loop so that I could let you know that offline I'd be happy to discuss these things. Please do give me a call at your convenience. I can discuss Connect Waukegan. I would share the website with you, but we're getting long in the tooth for the day. So I just wanted to inform the board and let you know that eventually we'll probably request resolution of support for the Waukegan Broadband Committee Task Force, Community Task Force.
Thank you so much, John. And if we could move on, John will bring us more information at a later date. We just wanted to make sure that the information got out. So with that, I would like to move to E. It was the added information about the appraisal, and it was the concerning the approval for spending $20,000 to secure appraisal of the Bradbury collection. So Tatiana, you brought that to the board. Would you like to discuss it a little bit?
Yes, so I know that it's late and I know that these meetings are hard and they often drag on, and sometimes we feel rushed in these meetings. And I still don't feel that we've had enough discussion on this, and $20,000 is quite a lot of money. And I don't know if that I feel rushed or that I feel out of the loop because there's a breakdown in communication. I'm not sure what the deal is. But I do have a question about what happened to the original documentation from this appraiser. And I also want to revisit the idea of gifting the collection to Carnegie. And if anyone has been in touch with with a representative or anyone from the Bradbury family to ask their opinion on us putting this in Carnegie. I just wanted a further discussion on that.
Does anyone else have anything they would like to talk about?
Well, my thought.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Can Ms. Tatiana expand on why to gift it to Carnegie? What would be the reason behind it? That's why.
I know that there's two camps here. The one camp is that the Bradbury family gave us this collection. It is ours. We should not then in turn give it away. I just wonder about the intent of the Bradbury family, what they wanted to see done with that, if it was so much about giving it to the library or if their intent was for it to be on display, something that the community could appreciate. In that sense, if we gifted it, we would no longer have to pay the $20,000 appraisal fee, and it would be out of our hands. We would still get credit for gifting it. Does that answer your question?
All right, so as far as the research that was done into the Bradbury collection, when I came into this seat, what had been done is it has been backburnered for so long at our library, roughly 8-9 years, that it's been sitting in storage rooms. It has never been a priority, although it would have been a project the library could have put on display. I'm not certain. I have not reached out to the family to request their input in what we do with the gift that was given to the taxpayers of Waukegan. But I want to see something happen with this. The Parks is in a perfect position to renovate and make that the old Carnegie Library new again, and to put the collection on display as Ray Bradbury dreamed, that his collection would go on display in his former children's library. As far as the old appraisal, after we'd already brought this to the board last month, I did reach into as much as I could find. I went every place, hidey hole in the library, and I found the old appraisal. It was in a box of stuff stuffed away with the rest of the collection. So somehow that appraisal had gotten lost. Upon reaching out to John, the appraiser, he said that when he did this back in 2013, it was appraised, and the valuation, I can't probably say it's not for public consumption, but the valuation before Ray Bradbury's passing was significantly less. At the time, Ray Bradbury only had 4 books in publication and no movies, nothing big had this way come. But since his passing, his name and his reputation have grown exponentially. And now almost all of his books are back in publication again. They're making movies with A-list actors like Robert B. Jordan to talk about Ray Bradbury's legacy. I think this is a great opportunity for the library to get something done with this. As far as the old collection, though, the way it was appraised then was going to be valuated at far less. And therefore, our insurance should cover not only our collection, but whatever is housed within our library. And I believe we have like a $2 million liability policy, something maybe $4 million if you include all the collection. I'm not exactly certain, but when appraising this collection at the level it was appraised, it probably could be covered. But by doing a second appraisal, we get an accurate feel for what the collection is actually worth replacement wise. Because if we had to replace Ray Bradbury's typewriter, it's irreplaceable. But there needs to be a dollar sign when we loan these things to another organization, that if they had a water leak or if they had a roof breakthrough and destroy part of the collection, we'd have to run that through insurance. And to run it through the insurance at a lesser rate than what it was originally appraised at is putting the library at a disadvantage. So that was the original reason. I think that a dollar spent now is more worthy than waiting and hoping or finding out later that we should have had this done. This is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The reason I'm requested the monies to do this, because at this point it's an investment in the only money we've spent on the collection since we received it in 2013. So it's a paltry sum.
And I think
I understand that. Yeah. Go ahead, Sylvia.
What Tatiana is saying is really, really clear. And I did not vote for the appraisal for the reason that I like, first of all, let me just say, I like the idea of gifting it, because the collection would be worth something to the Bradbury Museum. So I like that idea. I like the fact that we could allow them to do what they have to do in order to appraise the collection. But anyway, that's my opinion. Robbie, go ahead.
I wanted to also chime in and agree with you both that I think gifting it can kind of release the burden from us. If there is anything that goes wrong, then it's not on us. It's being properly used in a museum instead of storage. But if we do need some sort of appraisal, and this is the only sum we've spending we've done on it in however many years, if we need that to be able to gift it properly, I understand that. But if not, I think, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Sylvia, if I may, my understanding is that if it is gifted, we no longer have to provide an appraisal. And I guess if the board does feel that they still want the library to retain it, and I'm of the mindset that someone needs to reach out to the Bradbury family or an executive of the Bradbury family, so that we're not giving away something that was gifted to us. I don't want there to be any hard feelings on it. But I am of the mindset that if we go down the path of appraisal rather than gifting, that I would like to see bids on it. I realize that we went to the same man who did it previously, but I would like to see a bid, because even if somebody comes in at $15,000, that's $5,000 more in the pocket of the library.
So if I may make a comment here, again, as I said at the last meeting, Ray Bradbury was about writing books, and we are a library, and it seems to me totally appropriate to keep the collection. We have it. We've had it. We've been responsible caregivers of it for some long time. We have a statue in front of our library dedicated to Ray Bradbury because of his vision of book writing, and it makes our library a special place, a unique place. This is a priceless collection. I don't think $20,000 is a lot to spend on a priceless collection that a public library has. How many other public libraries in this country have such a collection, and the other thing is that what does a park district honestly know about curating books? They're into parks and recreation. They're dallying around with the museum, but really, what do they know about books and curating books? They know nothing about that, in my opinion. With all due respect, I mean, they're into parks and recreation. We're into books. And the other thing is that I remember seeing some of these items from the Ray Bradbury collection displayed in our library, like his typewriter. That was a wonderful thing. I mean, I was on cloud nine just seeing that sit in a display box. I think it was very appropriate to see in our library. I don't want to have to go down to some, this is a unique collection. We are the library. We have the statue that they gave it to us. Now, if it's appropriate, to go find out what the family at this point wants, but the man himself, Ray Bradbury, gave it to our library, as I understand. Is that correct? He's the one that came to our library. It didn't go to the Waukegan Historical Society or the Waukegan Park District. It came to the Waukegan Public Library. And so, I mean, how much clearer can it be where he wanted to have his collection at other than the Waukegan Public Library? So I'm totally opposed to giving it to some park district or some Carnegie museum. It belongs in the library, in my opinion. And I don't think $20,000 is a lot to spend for a man who looked at it before, who's an expert in the field of Ray Bradbury and such collectibles. And so, I mean, I think it's very reasonable. It's a lot of money, I understand, but this is a priceless collection. And as John has said, it's gone up in value exponentially. That's the word he used, exponentially. So I see no reason to change our vision of it. I mean, we can loan parts of it out. We can loan, his typewriter, whatever, to the, but I mean, in my opinion, it belongs in the library.
Okay, so let me just stop this discussion. We've had a lot of discussion tonight. John, I think you are seeing, how the board feels about the collection. I think that anybody who would like to have a conversation with John about the collection, please don't hesitate to do so. John said, pick up the phone, give him a call, come to the library, whatever it takes to have that conversation. We have not yet called him to come and do the appraisal. So this is a good time to have that discussion with John. So if we could move on, we do have announcements and trustee comments. Most of you all have made comments all night. It is now 8:22. So if you could keep your comments brief, I would very much appreciate it. And let's start with Larry. Larry, you have lots to talk about. You got 2 minutes. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I just real quickly, I did, in terms of my comments, I did receive from an alleged supposed library board member late last week a request over my email system, official library email system, to contact them to help them with a matter that they were in a meeting and they wanted this library board member wanted to talk with me further. And so I went and provided my cell phone. Oh, you can always call me or text me at my cell phone. And then I got a strange message this week saying, oh, but I've decided to give money to eBay to buy gift cards for veterans, et cetera. And, I need, it was a total bogus thing. And so I contacted both John and Isaac, our IT interim specialist here and director. And he said, Larry, you have been, and the other board member have been victims of a phishing expedition. And he said he would alert the other trustees as to that happenstance that I and the other board member experienced. So just to be mindful and to provide a heads up to the rest of you all, just because it comes from a library email to another, from one supposed member to another one of us, doesn't mean that it's official. I just fell for it. And I should not have. And I don't know how we can provide against it, but I mean, just be mindful that someone's monkeying around with our, playing around with our, or getting into it. I mean, it's not hacked, but still there's nonsense business going on there, unfortunately, so.
So can I speak to this real quick? I know that mine is often hacked, but the thing to do is just pick up the telephone and text someone and say, did you do this? Or this is what I saw. And then, John and Isaac are good with taking care of that. So thank you, Larry, for bringing that up. Do you have anything else, Larry?
No.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, let's go to Tatiana.
I'll be brief. I'm going to do a high and low, which I do with my kids. So my high, my congratulations and my good news is that I really appreciate all the work that's being put in. I do. John, I really appreciate your communication and your response to emails and your willingness to speak to us and clarify things. I really appreciate the Gail and Karina. I really appreciate the presentations that you give us board members and the thought and delivery of your messages. So thank you very much. My lows are more for our board. I'm really disappointed. I'm disappointed in our communication. I'm disappointed that we have failed to hire an executive director full-time. I'm disappointed at the lack of commitment and communication breakdowns that continue to plague our board. It's not only frustrating, but at this point, I consider it negligent and in opposition with our charged duties. We owe the community and the library and ourselves to do our jobs to the fullest of our abilities. And I realize that we're volunteers. We have jobs, we have families, we have outside commitments, but we're charged with this position. We've taken this position. And so I'm disappointed in us that we have not improved our communication as a board as a whole, and also that our search has kind of been dropped by the wayside. That's all.
Thank you. Josue?
Thank you, Sylvia. I would like to request an update on the search for executive director at the next meeting. And other than that, that's all I have to say.
Robbie?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say, got to go to the Waukegan Pride Parade and everything, and see the storytelling. It was cool to just see the community all together. But also just wanted to, I totally lost my train of thought, so I apologize. Oh yes, I accidentally ended up at the library today, and it was so cool to see that new children's section that used to be the classrooms, and it was set up so cute, and the library was buzzing with activity in a safe, distanced way, and it was just great to see. And yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Rob. And Martha? Martha, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Do you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
This was a long night, but I think yes, I know, Tatiana, we did, we have a lot left to go, but we did cover a lot tonight. And I would propose, I don't know if I can say that, but maybe we can discuss in the future, maybe having an exhibit of Ray Bradbury books and everything. I went to the Botanic Gardens and I paid $10 or $20 to go see these very, very old botany books that they have in their possession. It was very interesting. I think you were supposed to go that day. Remember, Miss England? I mentioned it to you, right? I think
Yes,
it was a while ago. But anyway, something in the future, and good luck at Juneteenth.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
second.
I'll second. Oh.
Okay, motion by Josue, second by Larry. All in favor, roll call. Tatiana?
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Josue,
Aye.
Martha,
Aye.
and I for myself. Motion carried. The meeting is adjourned at 8:29 tonight. So thank you, everybody, for coming to the meeting and with all of your awesome questions and discussion tonight. So I'll see you very soon, and I will be talking to you between